Hey everybody, it's Book of Katherine, and we just watched the big Hillary prison speech in Nevada, and I have a lot to say about it, though it's not probably what you're thinking. So one of the things that I am noticing in these speeches is that when he goes around, we get to hear speeches from people around the country. And when he makes these appearances at each of these places, if you listen to what the people say ahead of time, these politicians get up. Now, I don't exactly like these politicians who get up. I'm learning as each one of them gets up. And the reason why I don't like them is because the president actually comes and then they stand up there just as Hope for Prisoners founder in 2009, which means he founded it the year that President Obama became president. Hope for Prisoners was founded. So this guy gets up there and he makes a speech. He opens the entire event that the president is sitting there for. And he gives a whole opening speech and presentation about the Partners for Hope for Prisoners. And he doesn't mention the president. He doesn't introduce the president. He doesn't say we're honored to have the president here. He doesn't mention the president. He keeps mentioning the prisoners and the prisoners' partners. And they're all people there in Nevada. And people that have joined them and faith leaders. And you're just kind of sitting there waiting for him to mention the fact that the president exists at all. That's the president sitting there. Then even when the Nevada, and you're wondering if the president's actually there, but what you hear is that as they go on, you know that they're there. And this happens in almost every single speech. As they're going along in these rallies and in these presentations, in these appearances that he happens, what you end up hearing is this prison guy said it, this Prisoners for Hope leader said it. He said, people all around the world, millions of people all around the world are watching this right now. I'm telling you right now, they know YouTube alone, not even like this, they know the analytics. We've talked about this before. They know YouTube hides it from us. If you go onto YouTube will say we have over 1 billion viewers. We have over 1 billion viewers. They will say that if you are an advertiser going on and trying to dig into what YouTube's analytics, if you want to be a network star and stuff like that, you have to really dig into it and you have to be an advertiser. You have to be a sponsor looking for a YouTube influencer wanting to go ahead and get views that way. Like have your product sold on an influencer channel. Then they tell you it has over 1 billion viewers. If you dig into it further, if you're a digger like me, and I'm a really, really good digger, and as you guys know, if you follow me at Book of Katherine on Twitter, which is at Book of Katherine, Katherine, if you follow me there, you see the research that I managed to dig up, and I'm really, really good at it. I'm very, very good at what I do, and I find some very, very hard to think. And a lot of that is based on what I did before I ever got online, the kind of research and the PR consulting that I did, and my university training and all that. It makes me a better digger because of the analytic research that I did, because of the researcher I was before I ever got online. It makes me a better researcher online, if that makes sense. All my knowledge on the library system, with that, all my ability in the library. All the things I know if you know how to dig inside of a big library with big books and go through a Dewey Decimal System, if you know how to dig there, because sometimes you had to do that. I had a job once where I actually had to do that. I had a job once that paid a lot of money an hour. It was in Hollywood, actually, a Hollywood job that paid a lot of money an hour to actually go through this big system and dig. And it was worth it. It was fun to me. I was like, ooh, this is really fun. And dig through it because no one was in the library. It's really fun. It's really, but I learned that there's research that's only available there. It's not available online. There is research that's only available in these big libraries, in these certain printed journals. And so you have to know kind of like what certain keywords, and some of it's hidden. You'll find university libraries, you have to have a keyword to get into them. UNESCO's blocked it off unless you're actual university enrolled educator, unless you're actually a university professor. You're not allowed access to these journals. You're not allowed access to university research. The public's not allowed access to it, which goes against every single idea behind library science known to man. I mean, it's the actual libraries of the university system are not available to the public. And that should terrify you since all your taxes are being taken for the university system. The university system takes all of your taxes and all of your money to be used for tuition, and then all that money goes towards research for the university, and then all the things they publish are not available to you. You should really look into that. It's not, their library system is locked out by keyword. So none of it's available to you. What's only available to you is the headlines that they put out and the reality that they put out. Very, very sad. So my knowledge of all of this really helps me dig. And one of the things I did on digging, which I was so stunned when I found it, but I found it. And it was for people who wanted to advertise on YouTube, was that they had reached, and it was way back in like 2011 or something, they'd reached over 2 billion viewers. YouTube itself had gained over 2 billion users a long time ago, over 2 billion across it. Now, they say that Twitter's at 300 million users, and I can't remember what the others are. And then they say Twitter's kind of even out. And part of that is because Twitter seems to be the one they censor the most. Twitter is, the countries really don't like Twitter. Twitter is writing, and that's writing based. So they really, really censor that in countries like Iran, Iraq, China. They love censoring Twitter. That's very, very locked down. Twitter's locked down because it's where you write. So you'll see actually a lot of the lobbying groups that I actually try to dig into. They'll have every sort of thing. They'll have a Facebook page. They'll have a Tinder page. They'll have every kind of page, but they won't have a Twitter page. And that's on purpose. They do that on purpose because that's putting something in writing. And the Catholic Church says it. The Catholic Church, Lord Richelieu, the Roman Empire was like, never leave anything in writing. I'm just like, and so when they don't have a Twitter page, boom, not to trust them. If they don't have a Twitter profile, I'm like, boom, German, boom, Roman Empire. I know who you are. I know that you're a liar. Because if you're not willing to put your words out there for public to see, we've got a big problem. That's very, very, who in the world is not going to do Twitter, for heaven's sakes? Like, who doesn't want their profile on Twitter? Twitter is like an essential. Everyone will tell you that's an essential, like Instagram, Twitter, whatever. That's a big deal. So, and anyway, so for a number of reasons, just from a PR standpoint, Trump, do I even need to go into that? Do I really need to go there? Do I really need to go there? Do I really need to say anything any more than Trump? I'm like, I just realized Trump. I'm like, that's the biggest PR sell I can ever give you, is Trump. For anyone who says, oh, it's gone Instagram and it's not Twitter. No, they want you to go Instagram because Big Brother was imagery, but that doesn't mean that's reality. People really do participate in language. Anyway, so, and UNESCO has trained the world schools to go into English. And so English really is the thing being taught at all the school levels. They've been doing ESL classes across the globe. So new and young students are all learning English in their classrooms. That's what's being taught in all the classrooms, showing you that British, and Germany and that Europe is the one running this global agenda, that English is being taught. I'm like, you can't really push like the royal family of Britain more than saying, hey, UNESCO, this thing from the UN is pushing English on a global system. I'm like, they won't let English be taught, made the language of United States of America, but they're forcing it to be taught in everywhere Latin America, at ESL classes, everywhere Latin America, Japan, India. I'm like, no one's complaining about that. Oh, why? Oh, because it's being pushed by the UN and the royal families. That's why, because it's part of the climate change agenda. That's why. Anyway, so we watched this big prison system thing, and this prison guy, Prisons for Hope, or Hope for Prisoners guy, didn't say jack about Trump. Neither did the mayor. The mayor did this whole oath, which is really scary. The oath has been totally rewritten by the United Nations. It made people make an oath about their internals, about their private lives. I'm like, why is an oath about your graduation, about a GED, making an oath about your private life? If there is any more argument about why you should not put your kid in a public school or put your kid in a school, go ahead and look up what the oath is for that kid's graduation speech, graduation ceremony from both the college that they're supposed to go to or the high school they're supposed to go to. Look up the oath that they're going to have to say when they graduate. You go ahead and look that up and find out what UNESCO, aka German manufacturing companies have paid for that oath to be. And that because it's so much easier, your high school just administrators took over. That's the way our school system was built. You know that because when at-home wives were not supposed to be bored at home, they were supposed to be, they had a way to take care of they didn't have to scrub the toilets anymore. They weren't supposed to. They had an automatic way to do the toilets. So when they stayed at home, they were supposed to be on the PTA councils. They were supposed to be running the school systems. That's what the moms were supposed to be doing. When the moms stayed at home, they didn't just stay at home. They stayed home and ran the school system while the dad was out. The dad was out running the companies, and the mom was at home running the school systems, making sure the schools actually ran according. And instead, all the moms have given the schools over to men. They've handed the school over to men saying, oh, you must know better, or to women that don't have children in the schools. And those men have just handed it over to climate change. And climate change is just run by the European system and Middle Eastern system of Islam. And the UK, this whole system that they've got going over in Europe, they've handed it over to the European system. And so Islam and the Europeans and the Judaism, this whole ringleader, they've just been like, here, we'll give you everything we want for our schools. And it's totally anti-American. It's the climate change UNESCO agenda is totally. So I'm sitting there listening to the oath they're saying, and they say in front of all of our family and friends. They don't say a word in this oath about in front of the United States president. And I'm like, these poor students that get the honor of being in front of millions of people in front of the world. So all these leaders understand that they're in front of millions of people in the world. I'm like, I know Trump's in the office. They know everyone's watching, but they're choosing not to mention the president. And again, in the honored speech, in this honored oath, they choose not to mention the president. All these local leaders are still like, screw you to the president. The president's brought them the viewership, brought them the ability. The lady's lifting up like $1,000 chip being like, I'm running for mayor again. They get a ton of publicity off the president, but they don't give the president jack until the very end. And these poor graduates don't even get the respect of that. They have to say an oath just saying that, oh, and all of my family and all of my loved ones and all my friends and other people. They didn't even change the oath to say, and the president of the United States. So that their oath that day dissed the president. And you could feel it in the room. The students knew that mayor chose to say, and other people present, instead of, and the United States president. Just other people present. Family and friends and other people present. I mean, those poor kids. I felt, or poor, not kids, they're not kids. They're adults that, violated the law and they're getting to graduate. So sad. So sad that that's the kind of oath that they were given after they graduated. And then right before the president gets up, all of them decided to waste the president's time. None of them respected the president's schedule. Who knows what world leader he had to go meet with. They all decided to go ahead and waste his time and just say, I'm going to take up more time. Did you hear them all do that? They were all selfish. They all took up more time, which tells you they're all need to vote out, vote out, vote out. All of them are ungrateful for what they've been given by the president. Then they get in there, and the guy right before as he goes to introduce the president, he even goes, and now it's my great honor to not introduce the president. I'm like, could you be more rude to the president? Could you try to be more rude to the president? This guy hoped for it. Now, what I couldn't believe about this is that I was like, no president has done more for prisoners. Why is this guy doing this? No president has done more for prisoners. That's what I've learned. I've only just got into politics, but I have watched this president. No president has done more for prisoners. This guy should know it since he started charity called Hope for Prisoners. Anyway, so what literally act by act, like he's done. No president by a long shot has done more for prisoners. It's not even like the president actually said, it's not even political, just no one's done as much for prisoners. No one's gone through and abdicated as much. The bottom line is what we're learning as we see these kind of like obscene obscene. We're hearing headlines now about these obscene sentences being handed out. And we're just learning that the cops and the prosecutors are just getting these backhanded channels. We're being sold off to the prison system because the prison system gets our taxes. It's this whole thing between the cops, county, and prison system. If there are less arrests, the prison system gets less of our tax crap. We get taxed less. The prison systems get more of our tax money if more people break the law. Well, gosh darn it, with the internet, people don't freaking leave the house, and that costs the prison system money. Honey. No. We need Americans in the prison system. So what do? We start upping. You know, no one's leaving their houses. They're all addicted to the internet. No one's leaving their house. And they're like, well, we better find a way to do this. We better find a way to pack the prisons. We'll start handing out obscene prison sentences. We'll start locking up conservatives for doing absolutely nothing. Oh, did a conservative look at me a dirty way? Oh, you gave me a dirty look. Lock him. I mean, that's literally what's happening now. Oh, let me give you a brilliant one that I just found out today. Oh, let me give you a brilliant one that I found out today, people. I just found it today. I think that's my husband. Scared me. Ha. Let me hold on. Okay, let me remember it. Okay, so today I found out there are two guys that started this group called Students for Trump. Two guys. Just two boys who started Students for Trump, started in 2016. Very smart. Just started, was like, oh, Trump's really big. Let's do Students for Trump. Super grew super fast. And in 2 years, by 2018, guess what? Charlie Kirk, the guy that says like I'm in 50 states. No, he just started buying out. Guess what? Remember when Charlie Kirk said, I'm making this global empire or whatever, and I'm in all 50 states? What he did is he took all that Chicago money, and he goes ahead and he buys out Student for Trump. I didn't know. I thought when you started up a Silicon Valley startup, you do that to get bought out. I didn't know you could start up a student campus group to get bought out. Did you know that you could do that? Did you know that was one of the ways you could become a millionaire today? Just start up a college campus group and you'll get bought out. Oh my gosh, I bet you guys could start so many Students for Trump groups and get millions. Oh, please try it. And watch yourself get bought because you will gain so many. You have no idea how many students there are for Trump. You have no idea how many students there are for Trump. No idea. You have no clue how many students there are for Trump. Just go ahead and put on a MAGA hat and go ahead and just be like proud. Don't make fun of people. Just sit there and be proud and get yourself a table. You go ahead and do that and watch how many signups you get and just be like, all we're doing is we just want to register voters and talk about Trump and we just want to find a safe place we want to have a safe place to talk and maybe meet at somebody's house. And that's it. Watch how fast your list will grow and just be like, we don't want to be like this group or that or we just want to be our own group. Watch how fast you grow and then shabam kabam, have your own little private chat and be like, and if we get bought out, then we get bought out, right? Go ahead and watch. And then you can kind of like other groups, if they start to come together, you can start to coalesce, like meet at Trump rallies, and then be like, okay, now we're going to become our own. Get one name and start being like, oh, we're one name, and then grow, and become your own conglomerate and become a competitor for Charlie Kirk, become a competitor for Turning Point USA, and then you can get bought out because they got that royal money. They got that Charlie Kirk world globalist royal money because they're funded by Lord and Lady Pembroke, right? Lord and Lady Pembroke from over there in the UK, right? Where they only had one black person at their entire event, right? They had them all in tuxedos and they had their token black Candace. You ever notice that the BBC just has this amazingly white cast? You go to Britain and the Commonwealth has like 50 million different colors in the Commonwealth. But those colors don't mix. Ever notice that about Britain? Ever notice that? Those colors don't mix. Oh, no, honey. Only in America do we mix. Why do you think that is? Because their leadership. Their queen, honey, their queen is racist. Their entire setup is racist. Royals are racist. You can only get up if you got the right blood. You can only get up if you got the right blood. They are purebloods. Only in America can a mudblood get up. Right? Unbelievable. They're Slytherins. I'm like, how did nobody catch that? How did nobody catch it? So anyway, Charlie Kirk goes ahead and buys out Students for Trump in July 2018. And do you know how he got out of paying Students for Trump in July 2018? August 2018. August 2018 or July 2019 they bought him. July 2019 they buy Students for Trump. Buy it, bam. August 2019, magically out of the blue, one of the founders of Students for Trump is arrested. Oh my gosh, 1 month later, like seriously, weeks later, like 2 weeks later, whoop-bam, whoop-bam, out of nowhere. So this guy has been leading a Trump campaign for years, not caught, not arrested. Charlie Kirk gets involved, arrested, whoop-bam, just like that. And what's he's arrested for? Because he lied on his resume. That's what people are getting arrested for if you got the right ties. If you got the right ties. And Trump's finally fixing that crap. He's finally starting to commute sentences of 9 years for lying on your resume, which, let's be honest, go ahead and look at your kid's resume and they lie on their resume. They think that if they took a neuroscience class, they can go ahead and say neuroscience experience on their resume. They actually believe that. May kill somebody, but they still do it. Nope. Can drop out of college, still say you got experience. Don't really need a degree to say you have experience or a degree in something. You can say you have a partial degree. Amazing ways and words they have to say that they're the crap, when they have done nothing, right? They've dropped out of everything. Got incredible words. You should take a look at their resume. Take a look at their resume. But then again, this Prisoner for Hope guy, he wants people to get nursing degrees in prison. He wants taxpayers to pay for nursing degrees. And that's the last thing I wanted to tell you guys. When Donald Trump, second to last thing, because this is the second to last thing, and then I'll tell you the last thing. When Donald Trump tells you something in a speech that makes everybody watch, because this video went from, live feed, people chatting, to, private link, be careful if you're going to share it, private, people flooding the channel, Why did that happen? You want to know why that happened? That happened because he talked about Hillary Clinton. He went to the House, and for the first time, I believe in his presidency, Donald Trump went the house on Hillary Clinton. He was like, boom, she should be fired. He just went off. Now, the populace has just been waiting for Donald Trump to go off on Hillary. They have been waiting. They've been screaming, lock her up at their rallies. And he just goes, and in the future, completely as if he can't hear them. Just completely continues like he can't hear them, as if they're not screaming, lock her up. He just continues on. Not today, my friends. Boom. Hillary goes off in front of prisoners about Hillary Clinton. Oh, the world around goes wild. Boom, boom. Sorry, you can see this is how bad I am. This is from going under. I've had a procedure after this. This is from last Friday when I went under for my MRI. Yeah, it got poked there. It didn't work. And then they had to go here. Yeah, to here. Yeah, it's fun. So please, I'm fine. It's just, I've been through it. I've got my pokes here and my pokes here and so you are donating to a good cause, because all of these are invested in by you, which allows me to stand up here and talk to you and give you all this information, right? So couldn't do it without you. Literally couldn't do it without you. Thank you very, very much. So anyway, I'm such a difficult patient to work on. I'm so grateful for the patient nurses that I get. I think I freaked them out. They're like, that didn't work. I'm like, right, I know my veins don't work. I know my bones don't work. I know I'm difficult. I know I'm difficult. Everything about my body is just difficult. It's never an easy body to work on. Anyway, so my point is that when Donald Trump does something like that, when he brings up a speech, his point is to get everybody in the world to flood and watch that video. He only does that when there are things that were just said by those people that he wants attention on. That means these people and what's happening there. I have noticed this pattern because I've been watching for 2 years now. I have noticed a pattern now. Donald Trump will drop his juiciest sound bites when the biggest corruption is going down at an event. He draws in a biggest audience during the highest corruption officials. And he dropped Hillary in the prison system. And I was like, I had already been watching earlier, and I was like, why are not one of these prison people? Donald Trump has just done so much for the prison system, unlocked so much funding, and not a one of them mentioned him. And then he went and was like, Hillary. And I was like, he wanted all of us to see that. He wanted all of us to see that they ignored him. He wanted us to know that they were doing that. He wanted us to know that they don't work for the American people. They work for themselves. I mean, the guy literally did this. He literally had the kids hold up. Now, I've heard this trick. I heard this trick used. I've actually heard this thing used. This guy used this thing from church. I've actually heard this thing in church. I've heard this example used in church. All right. He actually used himself as the savior. The pastor actually used himself as the savior. That's how bad this guy is. This is now my last thing. My last thing is the corruption of this guy and how he's using the church to cover up Luciferianism. The church that he was preaching for prison systems was total Luciferianism. It's the prosperity gospel, which is Luciferianism is the same thing as go get the money. Go get the money will make you happy. And the reason I have such a problem with that is because my friends have the money, and money has led friends of friends to die because they find out that money ain't where it's at. Like, I'm sorry, but I've had own friends. I've had my own, I've lost Broadway friends. I'm lucky enough to know enough people that you notice that when I asked for funds, I'm like, hey, can you help me with my medical bills? I don't say, hey, can you help me pay off my land? Hey, can you help me upgrade me? I didn't even think until you guys mentioned it, that I didn't even think of getting my husband off and being a full-time caregiver. That would be amazing to have my husband be a full-time, to have enough of an income to have my husband be a full-time caregiver. I never even thought of asking you guys for that much money because that would be a lot of money. That would be a huge, it would require so much money. I mean, I'm asking for $1 a month right now from viewers. I mean, that would require to have my husband come off of his job and to be a full-time caregiver. Obviously, my health would jump miles, but that's a huge, I don't even consider it. I don't consider because that's almost like a luxury, that's living. I don't consider these luxury lifestyle, and I don't even dream about living up. Maybe part of it is because of the land I own now. You know, the land that did not cost me, the land that's the mortgage is less than what I paid for rent out in California. But the land I own is that's all I've ever wanted, is to own a piece of land. And the piece of land that I own is just gorgeous. And I'm like, I'm done. Like, maybe that's part of it. But it took a huge risk. Everyone in California told us not to go. Everyone in California, even though it's for my health, even though we needed to get out of there and my health needed it, they were still like, what the hell are you doing? Don't go. Like everyone, it still was a risk. It was still really hard to do. We still had to do it on our own. We're no longer alone, but it was really hard to do. Imagine leaving all your family and friends behind, and imagine getting in a car and driving away from all of them. Imagine doing it on your own financially, doing it completely on your own independently. Can you do that? Can you do that? I mean, that's what it took. The payoff was just a couple months later, getting our own home, the dream home of our lives. Did we know that was coming? No. I mean, that's the thing, is that I think Peterson said it well. He said, you can only make your own lives better and work on your own lives and make your own. And we've lived by a lot of what Peterson says. Ironically, when you look at the formula he gives you, that's actually, we had to learn the hard way to live that kind of lifestyle. And even now when I read the Bible, the things that they teach in there, I'm like, oh, we had to learn that the hard way. The thing of like, leave thy father and mother. Peterson just taught on that. I just watched a video and he was like, man, if you don't do that, leave thy father and mother. And if you don't do that, if you don't do that, he's like, you will fail. Your marriage will collapse in the most awful way and you will fail and you'll deserve it. And I was like, because we went through it. My husband and I went through it when we got engaged. We went through the whole 9 yards. We went through the whole 9 yards of it. You know what I mean? And we had to totally go through and watching it start to crumble us and starting to fold us, and the whole night we had to go through it. And luckily, we learned the hard way. We made the very, very, very difficult choices. And then we even both of our families collapsed us and made us weaker. And we had to make very difficult choices to finally do that verse. We didn't know anything about that verse, really. I hadn't heard it since I was a Catholic kid, but they don't really push it. I mean, Catholics really push you to stay together or whatever. So I hadn't heard anything. It's not a commandment or anything, I don't think. It says to honor thy father and mother, but there's also this verse that says, leave thy father and mother. And that's in the very Genesis creation story. It says, and that's why man and woman leaves thy father and mother and goes and fans their own family. But once we did that, boy, did our lives open up, right? Boy, did our lives. But that's why we don't reach for the millionaire lifestyle. We reach for the boss lifestyle, but a lot of that's come to us because we made risky decisions by reaching just what's healthy for us and good for us in the moment. And we're not thinking like, oh, we want to live the high life. And that's what this jail system offers. This jail system, this hope for prisoners. It was so funny because he says he's a pastor. Let me give you the thing that he said. That I've heard in church before, and I've heard it in 2 churches now, both Catholic and in the lady across the street. He said, look at your hands, and all he says, the past does not define you. I'd like to say, bullshit. The past absolutely does define you. Absolutely does define you. Your past, what the heck? It does define you. You have to defeat your past. That's the point, is that you have to face your past and own it. Face it, look at it, and decide and freaking battle with it and defeat it. That's the point of your past, is that you have to go to war with your past. You have to face your past and you have to go to war with it. Your past does define you until you go to war with that past and you do something else with it. So, it's always going to be with you unless you redefine it, crush it, do it to make it this and make it something else. Everything, wounds to battles to things people put on you, and you have to do war to take it off and turn it into something else and send it off and into something else and take it this way and take it that way. You have to go to battle with it. What he said is this thing I've heard of, he said, look at all the lines, this is everything you think about yourself, everything you've ever done, every ugly thing you've done is a line in your hand. Okay, put it on it's a line in your hand. Okay, and can you see me? And he was up on the podium. Sorry about this. But he's up on the podium. He's like, look at your hands. Oh, these are all the lines of the bad things you've ever done. They're a line in your hand. He's like, can you see me? And they're like, no. Can you see me? No. He said, now put down your hands. He's like, can you see me now? And I was like, wow. And he basically made himself their future. And I was like, that's really, really, really doing something in their neurons to make him their Messiah. Because I've seen this technique done before, but let me tell you how it goes in the Jesus churches and the other churches, in these other churches that aren't the prosperity gospel or aren't the Luciferian gospel, which means the humanist is the human can save themselves, or you have like a cult personality who can save you. The other thing is you take this, you take your, like one of the things is to take all of your iniquities or whatever, all your things that you hate, write them on a piece of paper, and you nail them to the cross, or you burn it on the cross. And then the other one is you take a big bowl of blood, like you go to a room by yourself, and there's a big bowl of blood, like imaginary. You imagine that there's Christ's blood, and then you take it, like for people that are wounded, like who were attacked sexually or whatever. You imagine that that's Christ's blood, and then you pick an imaginary sponge, and then you dip your sponge in it, and then you wash yourself down with the blood of Christ. Imagining washing yourself privately in your own room, and you wash yourself. You wash yourself with the blood of Christ. I've seen a ton of different things. I've seen other things like things with the brain where they use bilateral theratapping, where they say like, give it an image, like give the abuse an image, or give like something that you've done an image or whatever, and then you dip it into the fire, give it a name, give it this, all these different things. This is the first time I've seen someone say, now, put these things and put me in your place of those. I'll be your savior. Like, now see me. Can you see me? I'm the clear path. Because he'd done that a number of times in this speech of like, will be your thing. The mayor did the same thing. She's like, I'll be your hope. Here's the email. You can call me. Here's the phone. I'm giving you this $1,000 chip. You can call me. I'll be your hope. I'll be here. I'll be your support. And what was so funny is that he said he was this pastor. He said, God is my support. God is my rock. God, 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 God. And then what did he say? He said, I am here to tell you that God, if you follow God, he won't lead you to those menial jobs, those like $7 an hour jobs. He'll lead you to the higher up jobs. And I was like, there it is. There's that prosperity gospel. He wants the nursing jobs because the nursing jobs make $24 an hour. And I'm just like, ain't not everybody made for the nursing jobs, honey. We ain't all made for that. Hands and feet. Haven't you heard that before? Like in England, I just heard that they have this $36,000. There is a guy and it may be wrong. Maybe it was a false caller that made that call. But there's a guy that was in England that called into Nigel and said that he can't get anyone to work. He has a house for farming, and that you can farm, make 36,000 pounds a year and live on the farm. You actually get your own farming house. You get room, board, and 36,000 a year. And I'm like, oh, I've been to England. That sounds like a nice life to me. And maybe that's because I was a teacher once. And I'm just kind of like, maybe it's because maybe I was a teacher once because at UCLA, I already knew people who were at top. And I just knew the top wasn't, let me tell you, you can be a millionaire and it just, not everyone, I don't know where the lie, I do know where the lie came on, that the millionaire will make you happy. The millions will make you happy. Have you been watching Dr. Phil lately? There are plenty of millionaires on Dr. Phil lately, and they are just as screwed up as the people making the money. You have to figure crap out for yourselves. You got to face your demons and you got to find out your happiness. You have to make them all the money. That's great. But one of the things I can tell you this is that the people who are the richer people get, it's harder to find. There's these certain stratas. It's kind of harder to find nice people in certain stratas. I can tell you that. You have to find pockets. There are certain stratas where there's just certain nice people. You know what I mean? The people are nicer. And if you go into, sometimes you don't want to be in certain stratas. You ain't going to be treated so well. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that, I don't want to say which, okay, I can't even say what industry. There is a certain industry, a certain group within a certain industry that really experiences heavy drug use and heavy death. And like serious memory loss, because when they get there, they find out how much they're hated. They are promised so much, and then they get there and they find out how much they're loathed and hated, and they miss it back home. And then they want to go back home, but back home hates them because they chose that way. So I'm just saying, like, this little Prisoners for Hope thing that's pushing Luciferianism, the prosperity gospel, you know, I don't know. I just think that the people of the Constitution, I think we need to focus more on freedoms. They're not focusing on fighting for our 10 freedoms. Just like we found out on Liberty Hound. Liberty Hound fights for one freedom only, guns. And I'm like, well, that's great. The cartels fight for just guns. Every cartel, every drug cartel, every mafia I know, every mafia and drug cartel around the world, the Russian mafia, the Mexican cartels, every Italian mafia, they're like guns. Guns forever. Woohoo! Even drug runners on the motorcycle gangs live by the gun. They're all Liberty Hounds. All of them are like guns. Liberty Hound has t-shirts that say, you know, no guns. Without guns, there are no rights. And I'm like, no. The Bill of Rights, all 10 rights are equal. All 10 rights. There are 10 rights that are enshrined. I've been to the gallery. I've seen the founding 3 documents, and there are 10 rights enshrined in that. Freedom of assembly is a big right. Freedom of expression is a big. Freedom of speech is a big right. You cannot tell me just guns is the only big right. Oh no. And you'll notice that the people who fight like that, this Caitlin Redder or whatever, Caitlin, whoever that InfoWars hired and then worked for TP, and then she said a bunch of stuff against youth, the other youth league or whatever and stuff like that. You know, those people, need to be aware of that. When they are not fighting for all 10 freedoms that the Constitution fought for, they're not, you can say USA and you can put up a flag, but is that USA? And that's what I've noticed that Trump fights for. He does all 10 freedoms all the time. He's always talking about the 10 rights. He's always saying our right to pray, our right to life, which is his thing. He talks about right to life. That's not everybody's. I don't think that's, oh gosh, I guess that's in the Constitution. And I don't think of it that way. I guess that's not a big one for me, but he does mention it all the time. I just realized that's a big one. That's not in the 10 bills. That's in the Constitution, but I'm realizing now I just realized why he does right to life. That's because it's in the Constitution. Oh, again, see, I keep learning. I was just like, what are the right to things that he does? He talks about right to life all the time. He talks about right to work, right to hire, right to be hired, right to act. Like there's right to carry, right to, like he just has a million executive orders and bills of right to, and just rights. He's so focused on rights and emphasizing rights. It's fascinating to see that that's just always the focus. And then he'll say in the announcement, this is based upon the constitutional right. Oh, you're right. He did say that in the right to life when he did at the right. He said it's in our Constitution. Okay. That's where that comes from. And I understand the arguments against whatever. I'm really with abortion. I'm just kind of like, pay. I have a big problem with the fact that the left is saying no medical licenses. The deaths are just skyrocketing for women around the country. I have a big problem with that, with no medical licenses. I don't know why the left isn't fighting that. I can't believe that they're allowing that they're just like, okay, just they take whatever bill the UN hands them. So they're just like, oh, no medical license. That's as good as a hanger in the back alley. I'm like, you just did that. You just legalized hangers in the back alley. I thought that's what you hated. And they just took the bill. It's like what Hitler did. It turns out that Hitler didn't introduce any new bills when he came in 1933. When he banned free speech in 1933, it turns out that was not a new bill he introduced. It turns out he enacted the 48th Amendment of the Weimar Constitution that was introduced and put into play in 1919, one year after the Treaty of Versailles, because the government that Germany elected was a socialist government. The National Socialists were elected, and the National Socialists put in Article 48. And all Hitler did when he was elected in 1933 was enact Article 48. It was already law. And I'm just like, does no one read the laws that are being put in by Germany? You know, the United Nations is based in Bonn, Germany, that did these things. You see the climate change campuses all producing these students that don't like any free speech, that say free speech is not okay. Conservatives don't feel safe speaking up. I just saw a girl on the Greg Gutfeld show, and she said, you know, I grew up in Berkeley. And she said, I grew up in Berkeley, and I grew up with all these left-wing professors who were at Berkeley, left-wing professors. And she's like, but none of them pushed me. She said, I wanted to go into the Air Force. None of them told me I couldn't. She said, I was conservative in Berkeley, and none of them told me that wasn't okay. She's like, this is different. Something's really shifted. She's like, I was in Berkeley, I attended here, I attended San Francisco, I attended here. And now on those same campuses, they're saying like slit the throats of Republicans. And it's not like the kids coming back are being any better. Charlie Kirk has inspired, Charlie Kirk and I believe Ben Shapiro has inspired this new way of talking, which is to taunt and tease left-wingers. I don't think that that's, I think that's awful. I don't think you should taunt and tease your opponent ever. You know what I mean? You don't catch any you catch flies with honey. And you don't, especially when people yell like that, they're usually disturbed in some way. You know what I mean? When they're talking about slipping throats. Not safe to start taunting someone talking about slitting throats. Not going to serve you well down the line. And when you start taunting someone like that so freely, everyone on that tape in Arizona State University, if you look up the Arizona State University tape and you just look up slashing throat Republicans tape, it was like a couple weeks ago. It's February 20th now. It's like a couple weeks ago of 2020. It is now. So it's the beginning of February, I think. Said 14 days ago. And all the kids behind this Students for Trump, which is now Turning Point USA, all the kids behind the table taunted the kid. They were like, say that again, what you gotta say, say that again, haha. And they were openly laughing. They were openly laughing at the guy. And you could see the guy was just like, ha, ha. He didn't even stand upright. The guy was kind of like this. So he was kind of like, he wasn't even an upright standing guy. So he kind of had a disability, you could tell. So he's hunched over. He had a physical disability. And they were still taunting him and yelling and laughing. Openly laughing at him. And I was like, who came out looking bad? It's not the guy that was taunting and saying, I'll slash your throats. But I was like, if these kids don't know, if these kids are feeling safe enough to laugh, openly laugh, ha, 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 then it's not real. That makes me think the guy isn't real. And then they went on to tell a newspaper, oh yeah, I don't feel safe, especially since I can't carry a gun on campus. And I'm like, well, that just makes people feel less safe because they think you want guns on campus. That makes you like this other chick. And I'm like, I said, you obviously felt perfectly safe because you were openly laughing. All 5 of you were openly laughing at the guy. You clearly felt safe. Give me a break. You lied to the papers. And then Fox News edited out their laughter. That's everything that Hillary Clinton and the DNC used to do. That's everything they used to do. Everything they used to do in their 2016 campaign. And I'm like, oh, isn't it interesting that it's just sort of seeming to happen now? I can only imagine that some kind of tape's going to come out that, certain Trump campaign. I can almost call it now that the Trump campaign is going to have secret tapes came out about Trump campaign that they did the same thing, that it planted, people screaming about Republicans to get a response, to make Trump supporters scared or something like that. I can just imagine it because they know those tapes really hurt Hillary Clinton. I can just see it now. What hurt them in 2016? Well, let's go ahead and do the same thing now. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but we know Charlie Kirk is funded. He's already been overseas to the UK. We know he's funded by Germany. We know he's funded by leftists. He's funded by Sir Pembroke and everything. Like, we know it already. Sorry, like, give me a break. Like, every time Trump or his people ever speak to Turning Point, ever get up there for a speech, what happens? Trump has a big thing go wrong with his projector. Nothing's ever gone wrong with the Turning Point speech ever. Something suddenly goes wrong behind Trump for the first time ever in a TPE. How many Turning Point events have happened? First time something goes wrong happens behind Trump. The irony, second time something happens, Donald Trump Jr. gets up to do match speech. What happens? They put a huge rainbow flag behind him. The United Nations rainbow flag, the big, huge rainbow flag that every single LGBT congressman has outside their they actually hang those all across all 50 states. They hang that outside their office instead of the U.S. flag to say we are a member of the United Nations. Because white supremacy, all these colors blend together for white supremacy. And now they have that picture for Donald Trump Jr. standing in front of the rainbow flag. I just love Turning Point USA. Don't you? All right, I got to get out. Love you so much. Au revoir. Bye. Hi. You want to say hello? You want to say hello? Teddy bear? Say hello. Come on, where are you? Say hello. Ugh. Bear boo. All right. So much for that. All right. I'm going to drop my camera. Love you guys. Bye. Oh, donate down below, please. Please don't. You don't have to try and replace my husband. So we don't have that much money. If we get more viewers, maybe you can share this. Why don't you try sharing this? If we get more viewers, if we start getting some of that 2 billion followers or whatever, 2 billion people around the world, maybe, and they give $1 a month, then maybe we can replace maybe we can get my husband to start. And every day, gosh, can you imagine how many videos I do then? Oh my gosh. My dream, let me tell you what my dream is. I'll tell you what my dream is, and then we'll go. Here is my dream. My dream, if I had my dream, which would be actually both of our dreams, to be honest. My husband and I dream of one day being in a camper. Like we love being, we've actually looked at campers before. We've actually looked at big campers. It's funny because now a camper would really serve us on these things because I already have a car bed. I'm like, we really need a camper, like an actual camper that I can actually have a bed in. Like we actually really do need a camper. I'm thinking about starting a GoFundMe page for a camper. I'm like, we actually need a camper because then we could spend the night. Does that make sense? Wherever we went, we could go wherever I needed to. I could handle MRIs better. We'd have a real, true bed. We could even bring the cats, if we went overnight and stuff like that. That would be really great. I could film with you guys. It would be really nice. Anyway, and the pain would be so much less. And it would be so much more comfortable for my husband, too. But I really think about doing, we'd have a camper, and then we go around the 50 states. We travel the 50 states. I used to be like the world. Now I'm like, nope. Never mind, take all that back. We've done plenty of the world, actually, already. So, but 50 states, and then film and talk to people and talk to you guys and show you guys the country. I would love to do that. We've always wanted to do that anyway, and, but now I'd love to take you guys on that adventure. I've already done like 47 states now. It's funny because Kentucky's one of the states I haven't done. And now I hear Kentucky Rain. I'm always asking like my phone to play Kentucky Rain for me because I'm like, Kentucky's one of the states I actually haven't done. I'm like, dang it. Like, and now I hear always like Kentucky Rain on down. Elvis's Kentucky Rain. Always trying to listen to it because I'm like, dang it, I got to go there. I got to go to Kentucky. So anyway, all right, I'll talk to you. It looks beautiful on that. I posted a video on my Twitter feed. Anyway, my husband's here. So that's my dream one day, is to get a camper, so to get healthy enough and for us to say some kind of work that we can actually travel. Maybe when we retire one day, but I doubt Social Security will last that long. But anyway, I love you guys so much. That's my dream. That's my dream. If people dream of being a millionaire, that's what I dream about being. All right. Love you guys so much. Bye.